Hi, welcome to Cape May Days, a podcast celebrating all the wonderful things in and around this amazing shore town. I'm your host, Jane Gober. Cape May has been my happy place for a very long time. And a few years ago, I started a successful blog and I've decided to take it to the next level. And I'm so thrilled you're joining me on this great adventure. Today's guest is Katie Cunha, who is the owner of Cape May Macaron. I hope I pronounced that right. In Carpenter Mall. So thank you so much, Katie, for joining us.
Sure. Thank you for having me,
So
Jane.
let's start by telling everybody what macarons. Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay, macaron. Not quite
Macaron.
correctly. Close enough. What they
You got it.
actually are, I know,
Very
I
close.
know what they are. I have had yours many times, and they're absolutely wonderful. But why don't you give us a
Thank you.
brief explanation of what they are?
Sure. So this is a very common question that I get all the time in the store. Macarons are a meringue-based cookie pastry made from almond flour, meringue, and powdered sugar in the shell. So they are naturally gluten-free. And then they're filled either with buttercream, ganache, or jam, or some combination of all three. Most of mine are buttercream or jam based. I do a ganache every now and then. And they are different
Yeah.
from macaroons, which a lot of people think that they're the same. Macaroons are coconut based, also a delicious cookie, just something totally different.
So, and I believe that these are gluten free.
Yes, they're naturally gluten-free because they're made with the almond flour in the shell. So there's no wheat flour unless you add it to the filling, like unless you were to put some ingredient in there that contains gluten. So for me, I've decided to just keep the whole bakery gluten-free. I don't have any wheat flour in there, any other ingredients that would contain gluten to contaminate the
Which is
macarons.
great to know because it's so hard to find, especially if you're having like a party or something and you want to put out something for dessert. It's sometimes hard to find something that's gluten free if you know you have guests that have sensitivity. So
Mhm.
that's the perfect thing. And I know, I think I told you last year when my daughter and her friend Sari came for Easter. Sari can't have gluten, so it was one of the perfect treats to have at the house for her, so that everybody, had something sweet.
Mhm.
So awesome. So tell me,
Yeah.
they're. I know that they're. I've never made them myself, although my daughter has. I do know they're very persnickety. They're a little complicated. So, um, how did you
Yeah.
learn how to do this?
So it started out, I was working as a nurse at the time, and I was really into baking, but I did mostly cakes and cupcakes. Um, so we were having a Parisian themed bridal shower for one of our colleagues at work, and someone asked me to make macarons for the shower. And me being the baker of the group, I just thought, sure, that can't be that hard. I'll give it a shot. And they turned out terrible. And I kept trying to make them over and over again until I had something I felt comfortable with bringing into work for all these people. And they still weren't the best, but they passed. And then after that, I just had to keep going. I had to find out how to make the perfect macaron. So it's really just a lot of trial and error and a lot of practice. It took me years, not consistently making them until the past 4 or 5 years or so, but years of trying and different recipes. This was 10 years ago, so YouTube at the time wasn't as big as it is now. There weren't as many great recipe blogs out there that would give you the step by
Mhm.
step as there are now. So it was kind of cookbooks and my own trial and error. But I made it, lots of
Yeah,
practice.
I like I said, I've never made them. I do remember on the British baking show they had them, and everybody struggled with getting their feet um, on the bottom of them. Can you, like,
Yes.
explain what the feet are? Like the
Yeah, so it's the bottom of the shell. They're called the feet. So if your batter is over mixed and too runny, your batter will kind of spread out on the pan and it won't rise to give it the feet um, on the bottom of the shell. It's just a really nice, pretty look. Sometimes they get a little bit ruffled out, and it's one of those things that makes a macaron a macaron. When you see it, it differentiates itself from any other type of sandwich cookie, really, by
so I'm
the
assuming that your
feet.
first attempts did not have feet. Um,
They certainly did
I'm sure
not.
mine
They
wouldn't
certainly
either.
did not.
So what are some of the common flavors that you carry, and what are some that are, favorites that just fly out of the shop?
So I try to always have some really accessible flavors for people who have never tried a macaron before, something that they might gravitate to first. So I typically always have vanilla bean, chocolate, and a fruit. So either like strawberry or raspberry in stock. I also try to do jam flavors because they are dairy free. There's no milk in those, so that's always a good option for anybody with a milk intolerance or a milk allergy that they can have something safe. Um, some of the most popular ones, vanilla bean is my all-time bestseller, probably because it is a great place to start if you've never had a macaron. But also, I do think it tastes a little bit like vanilla ice cream. The vanilla beans in there
Mhm.
really make a big difference. Um, but salted caramel is up there, Nutella, s'mores. I can never really keep in the case for very long. That goes quick. And fruity pebbles. Another one that carries
Yeah.
with it a bit of nostalgia, I think, for adults, and then for a kid to see something really brightly colored, even if they've never had the cereal before, that's something that they usually go for
Well,
first
I
too.
know from stopping in at the shop as well as following you obsessively on Instagram, you also decorate them beautifully. They're so pretty.
Thank
So
you.
whether it's Christmas or I know you did special Valentine ones, so they're not just the beautiful cookie itself, but you put a lot of effort into making them really, really pretty. So, you gave us the backstory of how you learned, which was great. But so you said you were a nurse. So then you went to opening up this
Yes.
shop, which is not a small undertaking. So why did you decide to take the plunge into opening up your business?
So I had been working as a nurse for many years in a hospital setting in doctor's offices. And then when I moved to Cape May with my husband, I started working from home kind of shortly thereafter, doing nursing, um, but in a telehealth capacity because my kids were very young. My daughter was just, I think, 2 months old when I started working from home on a regular basis. So it was a great option to be home with them. My schedule was very flexible and I really did enjoy it. And it also gave me time to um, experiment with some of my hobbies in my free time as a mom of two toddlers and working. But so I started baking a lot. I was baking macarons again. And eventually, New Jersey passed their cottage food law, and they were the last state in the country to do so. And a cottage food law allows people to bake from home and sell their baked goods from home. So before that law, you could bake from home all you wanted, but you weren't legally able to make any money off of it. So you could donate to a church, to a bake sale, and they could sell for you, but you weren't allowed to keep any profits from what you made at home. So they passed that law while I was working from home, and I was talking with my husband, and he said, you should do this. You should start making macarons and selling them. And I first thought, I don't know about that because I've never made them in a very large quantity before. I'm not sure if I could really do it. So I started out very small. I did my first farmer's market in Wildwood for it was 2021 Christmas, I think. And I sold out, and I was just like so energized after that and kind of really wanted to keep going. So then that summer I did a few different local farmers markets, pop-up events here and there, a lot at the Physic Estate in Cape May. And then after that experience under my belt, I was looking for a storefront, but not super serious about it. And then this location just kind of popped up. I happened to know someone who knew the landlord. So I made some phone calls. I ran to see the space and I just kind of took it. And we didn't think too much about it when we took the leap, just kind of a wing and a prayer situation. So I'm super happy to have my little nook in Cape May instead of,
Yeah.
lugging my tables around every weekend. Although I did enjoy that, for what it was too. That's always fun, and I'll pop up here and there at some local festivals too. But yeah, having the storefront has been certainly a game changer for us and the business. It's really allowed me to grow and experiment and just have a place where people can come um, to me, and having that foot traffic is really
So you
nice.
have the ovens right on site now, correct?
Yes, there's 3 ovens in the store, which you might not believe from walking in there because it is such a tiny little space. But right over the dividing wall, there's 3 ovens, there's a fridge, um, and a counter back there and a baking rack, and that's really all I need. It's small, but it works perfectly for what I need it
Well, I
for.
would think so because you are focusing on just one item. So, unlike a bakery
Hmm.
with a million different things, you've got focus. So that makes sense. I do know, I believe you also
Exactly.
do like special orders for like weddings and showers and things like that. So, could you talk a little bit about that too?
Absolutely. So that's actually a huge part of my business and something that really keeps me afloat in the off season when we don't have that foot traffic at the shop. So I do a lot of weddings. People will order large macaron towers and maybe a macaron cake on top of the tower, which is just essentially a huge macaron. So it's 4 layers with filling in between and then macarons on top. So that's a really popular option for weddings and baby showers, bridal showers. They just look so beautiful on a dessert spread or on any kind of display. And now I have this edible printer where I'm able to print images, words, names, so they can be totally personalized and customized. So that's really been helpful with these big events too. So I just did a bachelorette party order a couple weeks ago where they had the groom's
Oh,
face on the
that's
macarons, and
that's hysterical.
it cracked me up.
I love that idea.
It was
I
great.
love that idea.
Yeah, and baby showers, they'll get the baby's name on it or it's a girl, something like that. So I love doing private events. It's really fun for me, and I think fun for the customer
And
as well.
they keep fairly well, don't they?
They do. So I try and make them as fresh as possible, like as close to the date someone's ordering or as close to when I'm putting them in the display case as possible. So my rule of thumb is like 7 to 10 days in the fridge. Although, if I bring them home for myself, I push that a little longer, and I've never run into an issue. But they freeze well too for like 2 or 3 months. So I have some people come down in the summer and they'll buy a couple dozen and take them home and put them in their freezer and enjoy them for a little longer. But that does um, really make a difference, I think, to a lot of people. They don't have to eat it
Exactly.
right
Or if
that
they did
second.
order a large quantity for a party and had some left over, they don't have to. Like if you have a huge cake, chances are you're not going to eat it all, and you can't always keep
Mm-hmm.
it. But this, you could easily just store them, and that's a nice little thing too. Like you've had this party, and then a month later, you pull out the frozen treats and kind of relive a little bit of the party again,
Yeah.
which is fun. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. I love that.
I think one of the things for me personally, just buying them in the store, they're great to eat. Obviously, I keep raving about them, but they're also a really nice host hostess gift if you've got invited to something, and or you're invited to stay at somebody's beach house, or you get invited to a party at the beach. It's a great thing to take. You know that probably nobody else
Yes.
is going to bring that. And especially back to the
Yeah.
gluten-free thing, you're pretty safe. Of course, if somebody has a nut allergy, that's a whole different thing. But so yeah, I just think they
Right.
make a fabulous gift just right out of the store as well. Um, is there sort of
Yeah.
anything
Thank you.
else you can think of that maybe you wanted people to know about your business?
Now that you mentioned gluten free again, I am also peanut free in the store. Um, I think that does make a difference to people as well. We do have the almonds in the cookies, so we're not tree nut free, but we can avoid what we can. And I do have a lot of people that appreciate, not having gluten or peanuts around. And I don't feel like it makes a huge difference in the product either. Like I don't feel like I'm taking a hit for not having those ingredients. So we are safe for peanut and gluten allergies. And then other tree nuts besides almonds, I do my best with cross contamination prevention. My focus in nursing before this was actually
Hmm.
in food allergies.
Yeah.
So it's certainly helped me a great deal. But yeah, definitely want to get the word out about that. So if anybody has a severe peanut or gluten allergy, they are safe with our
Awesome. That's
macarons.
good to know. Um, that's really good to know. So I have a question that I ask everybody, and that is,
Sure.
what is your favorite thing about Cape May?
So it's really hard to narrow down,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you know. Um, so I had never been to Cape May before I met my husband, who was born and raised here. And the first time he brought me here, I remember we were sitting at Finn's at the bar, and
Hmm.
we were newly dating. And I asked him if he would ever move back here because I just felt like this is
Yeah.
a really special place. I mean, I've never been anywhere like this before. And he said, yeah, maybe, if I get married and have kids, I would like to have a family back here, but I don't think I would move back here by myself. And I was like, okay, that's good to know. I'll remember that. Um, so when he got a job down here, and we did end up moving back, which was great. And then we were married and have two beautiful children. But I always remember that conversation because something about that first visit really always stuck with me. We were at Finn, so we were 2 blocks
Hmm.
from the beach in this quaint little small town where everyone seemed to know each other. And there was so much history, just walking around, looking at all the different buildings, the Victorian houses. It's just so charming, but it's so
Hmm.
authentic. Like the people that I've met so far in the community have really embraced me and the business and our family. And if somebody doesn't know me coming into the shop, chances are they know my husband. And it's so unique about Cape May, I think, um, that it's just very real and people are very supportive. It's such a great little community and there's so much richness. Um, we could go to the beach one day and then go whale watching and to the zoo and to the nature center, and there's just no other place like it. I can't say enough good things about the town, about living here. And I think it's true no matter what part of Cape May you're in. the whole county just feels really special.
Yeah, I agree. And I would imagine it would be a fabulous place to raise your kids. I know my husband and I started coming down here before our kids were born. Um, and this is one of the most special towns for them, even though we don't live here full time. They've always
Hmm.
loved it. My daughter says she's going to get married here someday. Um, it's just has that,
Oh,
like, it has your heart once you visit Cape May, and it doesn't let it go. It just doesn't let it go. So, yeah,
yeah,
I agree
yeah,
with you 100%. So we did talk about the fact that you're in Carpenter Mall. So you're in the mall, the enclosed mall. Um, so
yes,
they can find you there in person. You're also,
yep,
and I'll put links in the YouTube, the video version of this on YouTube. I'll put some links in there, but they can also find you on Instagram, and you have a
yes,
website. So,
yes. It,
any other tips for people trying to find you?
I'm
Okay.
also newly on Facebook. I'm not I'm not a big social media or internet wizard, but I have some lovely people helping me in that department, which is great. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram at Cape May Macarons. The website is capemaymacarons.com. Um, and, it's easy to order through the website too. I also take orders over the phone, over email, on social media. You know, however people want to communicate, I try and be open to that because I know there's so many different ways now to reach a small business. So I try and be as accessible as possible.
Awesome. So, yeah, one of the nice things about being on Instagram and Facebook is you can feed your Instagram to your Facebook. So that makes it a little bit easier. One post and
Yes,
it goes over to the other one. So that's a little bit of a help. Yeah, you
yes,
have I love
for sure.
your reels on Instagram. Um, Well, it just,
Oh, thank you.
it speaks to the baker in me, although I've never made macarons, I love to bake. Um, and I just love to watch, some of the things that you do, and you really it's really, really impressive, all the different things that you've made, and now I
Thank
understand
you.
how you get the pretty designs on top of them, but it doesn't take away from how pretty they are, just now I know the secret of how they get so pretty. Um, so that's a good tip to know. So, all right. Well, I thank you again so very much for being here. Um, and thank everybody for
Thank
joining us.
you.
Until next time, have a great one. Take care.